What's up, everybody? John Arapoli here with My MMA News, and today's guest just picked up a big win on the Dana White Contender Series in the featured bout. I'm talking to AJ Dobson, who just put the middleweight division really on show here. Man, this guy's going to do great things in the UFC. If you haven't done so yet, go to ESPN Plus, watch his fight. You're going to see why. But in the meantime, keep watching this interview. He's going to break down his great performance here for us. AJ, how you doing, my man? Thank you so much for being here and taking the time to speak with us here today.
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
Hey man, you're always going to be welcome here. I'm really excited to see what you do in the UFC after seeing this great performance that you just had. And before we get into breaking this down, I just wanted to know, just tell everybody, has it sunk in yet that you've made the UFC? Because this is every fighter's dream to make the biggest promotion like this. Just how have you been feeling since your big win there on the Contender Series?
It's still a surreal feeling. It still feels very like dreamlike. But I tell you what, I've been visualizing this for so long. I've been preparing for this for so long that, I'm almost jaded. I'm like, this should have happened years ago. You know what I mean? So I'm just ready to get to work.
Yeah, well, again, like I said, you're going to do great things here. And let's get into this performance here now. Not a lot to break down. You got a first-round submission win. I actually thought you were going to knock out the way how you were hitting them. Let's just talk about your hands for a second. You really let those hands fly. You cracked your opponent so many times. Just talk about the power in your hands, just how comfortable you were on your feet, too, because it didn't look like you were shy by any means. You went out there and really let your hands fly like that.
Yeah, I noticed in his fights that he throws a lot of single, like kind of pot shots, maybe, one or two. So I wanted to throw volume. And then also I knew he was really tough. And in one of his fights, he took 2 head kicks to the face and, didn't even do anything to him. He ended up winning the fight. So I knew he was going to be really, really durable. So I knew I had to throw more than 3, you know what I mean? So yeah, got the job done, but he was definitely a lot tougher than I thought.
And on the broadcast, everybody kept talking about your power, your power, your power. Well, it ends up being a submission victory. Nobody was saying AJ Dobson's going to win by submission in this fight. So take us through this finish here and how exactly you went about getting a submission win.
So when I took him down, I noticed that he was already cooked. Like he was kind of done. I was, I wouldn't say I was gassing, but I was like, all right, I got close to finishing this fight a couple times. I don't want to get like an adrenaline dump or anything like that. And jiu-jitsu gets you out of fights. That's actually what was my first discipline. Well, technically wrestling was my first. And then I went to jiu-jitsu and was really, really big on jiu-jitsu for a long, long time. And so, I mean, I'm technically a jiu-jitsu fighter. So I knew jiu-jitsu can get you out of fights. So that was my backup plan.
So do you feel like you were kind of like overlooked in that department in a way that, like I said, on the broadcast, everybody kept talking your power, knockouts. Do you feel that you're kind of like, you said that was your first discipline, wrestling and then jiu-jitsu, so obviously you're well-rounded on the ground there. You feel like you're kind of overlooked in that department?
Yeah, and honestly, that's fine. Like, stand-up makes for exciting fights. That's what the fans want to see. So that's, what I'm going to cater my fighting towards, I'm going to make sure I'm well-rounded. I'm going to make sure I'm proficient everywhere. But since people like to stand up, I'm fine that they see me as a stand-up fighter. It means something's working.
And your opponent has seen there's a big storyline coming into your fight. He missed weight, and the fight was probably in jeopardy there for a moment. Why, I guess, did you decide to go ahead and continue to fight even though he missed weight? And just your thoughts. I know a lot of fighters get very upset whenever their opponent doesn't show up on weight like that.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I had trained for so long for this. I was supposed to fight in April for LFA, and then I got the opportunity to fight for Ultimate Fighter. And then they told me about this right after. So I've been preparing for something for a long time. So I told I didn't care what was going to happen. As soon as I saw that there was a little bit of jeopardy, I'm like, guys, you can have him rehydrate right now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't care. At the end of the day, that doesn't really do anything. Chael Sonnen said it best. He said, there's no such thing as a size advantage in MMA. There's a speed disadvantage. So, and knowing that someone is having a hard time cutting weight, they're going to be drained. They might be a little chinny. So that's even better for me, honestly.
I'm very glad that you referenced the great Chael P. Sonnen there because I'm a big fan of Chael, and I've heard him say that several times in his commentary work. So anyway, though, let's move on here. I do want to ask you about what happened after the fight. I know Dana White, it's not always broadcast that you guys do get to, come up to him and shake his hand, and he usually has some words for you guys. What did you tell the boss afterwards?
Honestly, I mean, I just had to, tell him thank you. Thank you for giving me an identity. You know what I mean? I didn't really watch football or basketball or anything like that when I was growing up. I was just a big fan of combat sports, specifically, UFC, WEC Pride. Like, so I just thanked them. Thank you so much for for giving me, something to look up to, giving me something, a point of reference, you know what I mean? So I can develop into an adult. And the fact that it turned into me now working for him, it was such a beautiful moment for me.
Definitely a dream come true. And now I want to get into some personal stuff here with you. You were talking in before the fight. They always do this little preview with all the fighters, and you were talking about how your father actually was a fighter at one time. I was just wondering how much he kind of helped you with things, and what did he exactly like specialize in? What was his background? Was he a boxer, wrestler? What was his exact combat route?
Yeah, he did like combat karate. So he I forget the discipline, but he was really big into karate and like powerlifting and stuff like that. Really like back in the day, and there wasn't really much opportunities for him there. He was living in New York, and there was only like the brick breaking and the karate competitions that he can do, but there wasn't really a lot of money in it. So because of that, him and my mother kind of, it didn't really work out. So I wasn't really able to be influenced as much as I wanted to be by him. But the apple didn't fall too far from the tree, because literally I took up exactly what he was doing and just into the modern day. So it's funny how that works out. But yeah, he wasn't able to give me direct influence, but his influence is all over my life. So.
Yeah, well, I say it. It's all worked out perfectly for you. And I did want to ask you about your mom too, because obviously you just hinted on it there. What I was just going to ask, your mom was the major influence of your life, and you mentioned her so much too in your little preview before the fight there. Your mom, you said, was a fighter herself. She came over from Jamaica and started things kind of all over here in this country, and you really looked up to her your whole entire life. Just talk about your mom and how much she's meant to you and how much her leadership has like stood out to you.
Yeah, my mom, she's the strongest person I've ever met. She's the most hardworking, determined. I remember one of my earliest memories is me being a toddler and like being in this like classroom. I'm like, why am I in this classroom? I have memories of me just like bothering people, running around in a classroom. That's because she was working to get her master's. You know what I mean? Like she was doing all these things while being a single parent. And, the fact that she's been able to be so successful and to help other people and to do everything she's wanted to do, it's been such an inspiration to me. If she can do that, I can do anything. You know what I mean? So she's been a huge inspiration in my life.
Yeah, I can definitely tell there. She did a lot of great things for you. God bless her there. And now I do want to ask you about two other people that are involved in your life heavily. One is where you train at right now at Immortal MMA, Matt Brown, of course, legend of the sport. Just what have you learned from him since you've been training with him and doing a lot of work with him out there in Ohio?
Honestly, the biggest thing is the mental aspect. He always tells me how, fighting is 80% mental. It's all about what you do, your choices. It's all on you. So he's definitely reinforced the mental aspect of MMA, and that's really taken me to the next level.
And then another guy that I want to ask you about, somebody we talked about on before we came on air here, is Mickey Gall. Mickey's a friend of mine, a friend of MyMMANews too. He's always doing interviews with us. Great man. You've gotten to know Mickey a little bit because Mickey and Matt are very close. Just how has Mickey helped you out? I saw Mickey was very excited for you after you won too. He's giving you shout outs on Instagram and everything. So what's it been like working with Mickey too?
Yeah, Mickey's the man. He's one of the most genuine people I've ever met. Super nice, down to earth, humble. Like you'd never know that he's a UFC fighter. Like he's so, like humble. You know what I mean? So even before my Contender series fight, he was helping me out. He'd come to Matt's camps and give me little tidbits, give me a little advice. Help me with jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. So he's definitely been really nice and really helpful throughout my career.
So when we talk here too, right, we're talking about Matt Brown, Mickey Gall, two guys. Obviously, Matt's a very long-time veteran. Mickey, even though he's still younger, he's technically almost a veteran at this point. He's had I forget the top of my head, but it's getting close to 10 UFC fights there. Pretty much all of his pro fights have been in the UFC. So when you're working with these guys, Just would I be fair to say, let's put it this way, are you wiser beyond your years, let's say? You're not just this up-and-coming kid that just kind of getting started in the promotion, that you've been working with these veterans, that you feel more comfortable, that you've been dealing with all these guys that have been fighting for such a long time in the UFC.
Absolutely. And again, it really starts with Matt. Matt has influenced me and brought me around to so many different places. And I've been able to, when I was an amateur, I was able to train with Nate Marquardt and Neil Magny and all these guys and talk to them and pick their brain and, really see what, get what's working, what's not working, where they failed, what I shouldn't do. You know what I mean? So yeah, I definitely planned for this. I'm definitely qualified for this. And I've gotten all the backing this whole time. So yeah, that's why, I can see why you can say, it doesn't seem like I'm a newcomer, that I'm a little bit more refined, but it's true. I've done my due diligence and I've taken the time to really, break down what works and what doesn't work so I can be successful.
All right after the fight, you wanted all the middleweights to be ready for this big run that you're about to go on here. Tell everybody, not only the middleweight contenders, what they should be ready for, but for all the fans that are watching, that are just getting to know who you are, tell them why they should be paying attention to you throughout your career here.
I'm hungry. I'm ready. I'm motivated. I was a fan before, so I know what fans want to see. I'm always going to bring excitement. I'm always going to bring fireworks. I'm not going to take a step back. I'm always going to take the center of the octagon, whether I get knocked out or not. I'm gonna put on a show. It's gonna be fireworks. That guy is gonna be bleeding at some point. So always tune into an AJ fight. I'm trying to take the take the throne from Matt. You know what I mean? Where Matt every single one of Matt's fights are exciting barn burners. You don't know what's gonna happen, and that's the cloth that I'm cut from. So be prepared for to get your money's worth when you tune into an AJ fight.
All right, AJ, it's been a lot of fun, man. Before you roll out, one last thing. Social media, tell everybody where they can find you. Also, management sponsors, coaches, teammates, family, friends, whoever you want to give a shout out to, please. Floor is yours.
Shout out to all my training partners, Strong Style, Immortal Martial Arts, Westside Barbell. Shout out Jason House and Iridium. Thank you so much for changing my life. Tune in to January 22nd, guys. It's going to be fireworks. I promise you.
Wait, I heard you say January 22nd there. Do you have a fight lined up already?
Yep, January 22nd against Jacob Malkoon.
All right, man. Well, good luck with that fight. I'm going to let you get going here. I know that hasn't been reported yet. There's probably still some things that have to get signed and smooth over there. But before that fight date, though, we'll definitely do this again. Really appreciate the time. Thank you so much for doing this here today, and best of luck to you in your UFC career. And guys, before I roll out, like I always do, just want to remind you guys, keep going to MyMMANews.com, checking out the great work that we have there. Go to our social media pages, give us a like and a follow. And if you haven't done so yet, please go to the bottom and click the subscribe button so you can see more interviews just like this. We'll see you later, everybody.